Welcome to this intensive explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolute masterclass on North American airport scenarios specifically tailored for the CELPIP exam. If you've been looking for a highly structured, visual way to decode this test, you are definitely in the right place. We're going to rely heavily on detailed digital whiteboards and mind maps to break down exactly what you need to know. Here is our roadmap for today's explainer video. Core vocabulary and slang, Canadian cultural context, exam strategies and techniques, and finally, exam predictions and drills. Section 1, core vocabulary and slang. Let's start building that essential toolkit you'll need to really nail the listening and reading sections. Look at the detailed bilingual board we've got here. In high-pressure exam situations, you've got to instantly separate your nouns from your verbs. On the left, we've mapped out key nouns: baggage carousel, carry-on, layover, and customs. Specifically the CBSA, which is the Canada Border Services Agency. Over on the right are your action verbs: proceed to gate, clear customs, check in, and touchdown. Think of it like a mini narrative of your trip. You check in with your carry-on, proceed to the gate, and after you touch down, you clear customs. Seeing this visually really speeds up your processing time during the test. Now here is a crucial piece of North American slang you will absolutely run into: the red-eye flight. It literally means a late-night departure that arrives early the next morning, leaving you with, well, red exhausted eyes. If a reading prompt mentions a passenger taking a red eye to save some time, you instantly know that person is tired and probably a bit stressed out. Another idiom you really have to memorize is getting bumped. This happens when an airline overbooks a flight and you're literally denied boarding and forced to wait for the next one. So if you hear a frustrated passenger complaining that they got bumped, you know exactly what the core conflict is without needing any extra context. Moving right along to Section 2, Canadian cultural context. We absolutely have to understand this cultural backdrop because it completely dictates the tone you're expected to use in your speaking and writing responses. There are 4 very specific Canadian cultural phenomena you need to be ready for. First up, weather delays. Canadian winters are no joke, so expect to hear audio clips about planes needing de-icing or flights delayed by massive snowstorms. Second, strict customs. The CBSA doesn't mess around when it comes to food and plants, so confiscated apples or snacks are a super common scenario. Third is the polite complaint, which is so important we'll unpack it in a second. And fourth, bilingual announcements. At any major Canadian airport, you're going to hear background announcements in both English and French. Do not let the French throw you off. It's just ambient noise designed to test your focus. Let's zoom in on that polite complaint. In Canadian culture, even if you are absolutely furious about lost luggage or a delayed flight, your communication has to remain calm. Screaming at a customer service agent? Total deal breaker. You are expected to express your disappointment firmly, state the issue clearly, and politely ask for compensation. If you want to score highly, this is exactly the tone you have to master. Section 3, exam strategies and techniques. Okay, let's pivot to the strict mechanics of the exam and how to actually tackle these different modules. Check out this comparison on the board. For the listening module, especially parts 1 and 2, your note-taking strategy is super simple. Never write full sentences. Just use quick abbreviations. Jot down times like 2:30, gates like G12, and quick emotional states like stressed. On the flip side, for reading correspondence, your strategy is to immediately scan the very first paragraph to identify the overall tone. Is this an email of complaint or praise? Once you know that, rapidly scan for hard data points like specific dates or the exact compensation being requested. For writing task 1, which usually involves firing off an email to customer service, you'll want to memorize this 4-step flowchart. Step 1, greeting and purpose. State your flight details right out of the gate. Step 2, the issue. Objectively describe exactly what went wrong. Step 3, the impact. Explain how this issue actually affected you. And step 4, call to action. Tell them exactly what you expect them to do about it. That brings us to Section 4, exam predictions and drills. Now it's time to apply everything we've mapped out today to some highly likely predicted exam prompts. Imagine encountering this exact prompt for speaking task 6. You're boarding a flight, the attendant says your carry-on is too large, and they demand a $50 fee. But you know for a fact you measured it at home. Your task is to talk to the attendant. So how do you handle this using that polite complaint tone we just talked about? Well, you're going to pull straight from this vocabulary toolkit right here. You stay completely calm, and you specifically cite the dimensions of your bag.
You could politely suggest testing it in the baggage sizer right there at the gate, explain with total confidence that it easily fits the overhead bin, and kindly ask the agent to waive the fee. It's firm, it's polite, and it uses highly technical vocabulary, which is exactly what the CELPIP examiners are looking for.
Now let's look at a high-probability prediction for writing task 1. Let's say your flight had a severe delay because the plane required de-icing, and that caused you to miss your international connection. To make matters even worse, the airline gave you 0 food and no hotel voucher. You have to write an email requesting compensation. To totally ace this, you just follow our 4-step email flowchart. State the facts plainly, then explain that being stranded without hotel accommodation represents an unacceptable level of service. Then, in your call to action, firmly demand that they reimburse your out-of-pocket expenses. It's direct, it's perfectly structured, and it stays completely objective. I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought to really test your readiness. How would you structure a polite, firm complaint to the CBSA regarding a confiscated item, using the exact vocabulary and structural flow we just mastered? Seriously, think about the steps, the specific tone, and the words you choose. If you can confidently map that out, you are more than ready. Thanks so much for joining this explainer, and keep up the great practice.